I'm so excited. Right. So you are Meg.
I am.
Megatron.
Megatron.
The world's strongest woman.
Not anymore. I'm number 8 now. I got bumped down the list.
Did I overtake you?
Yeah. Yeah, so I competed last weekend, and I unfortunately dropped down to 8th place.
Oh, man.
However, I do still have 1 world championship under my belt and 3 world records, so we'll go with those.
You know, I think just having world's strongest woman on the history is perfectly acceptable.
And being top.
So I want to dive into how you become the strongest woman in the whole world. Where did first of all, tell me a little bit about you. Obviously, we know each other a little bit, but we're gonna pretend that we don't.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about you now, and then we'll rewind.
A little about me now. So I am a 47-year-old mother of 2, married to a man who is in the military. I am a competitive strongwoman athlete. So that means I pick up cars, run around with big rocks, lift weird things above my head, pull lorries around and do all that kind of stuff. I am a public speaker. I'm a fitness and development coach, but predominantly do more public speaking now. Or that's the aim anyway. Yeah, I don't know what else you want to know. I'm crap at that question.
That's so cool. There's so many topics there that I'm like, right, tell me about this. Tell me about that. So let's start with pulling cars, lifting rocks. How and why?
So I broke my leg playing rugby about 16 years ago. So the next natural progression was, instead of chasing egg-shaped balls around a pitch, go lift up some big concrete ones, right? That's obviously the next step.
Obviously.
Yeah. So I did actually break my leg playing rugby. So I've always been really into sports. I've always been a runner, into cardio. And then I started training to play rugby. I didn't even make it to my first game. Somebody tackled me and took my foot all the way around the wrong side of my leg. Yeah, that's what I said, but with a few more F's and everything else thrown in. So I had to have it all pinned back together, which meant I now struggle to run.
How old were you then?
How old was I 16 years ago? That's a great question.
Gosh.
How old was I? Well, I'm 47 now, so 31.
This is why calculators exist.
Something like that. 47 minus 16. So gosh. I was struggling to run because my legs are at a bit of a wonky angle. And I was a personal trainer in a gym at the time. And some of the lads were like, Meg, come over here and have a go at lifting this weight. And it was a deadlift bar. I must have weighed around 60 kilos at the time, so I was tiny. And I think there was about 90 to 100 kilos on the bar. And I just walked up to it, put my hands on it and stood up and picked it up. And I didn't know that was a strong thing to do. And the boys were like, oh my God, you're really strong. And one of them went, yeah, for a girl. I was like, excuse me, for a girl? And that really triggered something inside of me. And from that moment, I was like, I'm going to be really strong, and none of this for a girl business. Yeah. I'm just going to be really, really strong. So I saw a powerlifting comp advertised, which is just a squat, bench, deadlift. And it was okay, but it was a little bit boring. And then I saw a strongwoman competition advertised that had flipping tires, picking up big rocks, running around with really random things. And I was like, that sounds like a bit of me. That sounds like a lot of fun. So I trained for it, went and did it, and just absolutely fell in love with the sport.
So you did all that when you were in your 30s?
Yeah, so 30.
Was it late 20s?
No, it was in my 30s I started doing it, yeah. Yeah, I think it was more towards... So it was a year or so after I broke my leg. So I must have been about 32, 33. Yeah.
God, because that really... I'm in my 30s.
Lucky
and
you.
I am I don't know. I think I'm declining.
Probably because you're not doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And it's like, it kind of makes you go, maybe you can actually... I'm closer to 36 than I am 34 now.
So you're not far off the age that I started.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And especially as a female, the sooner you can start weightlifting, the better. It's so good for bone density when you start hitting the premenopause, all the hormones and everything else that comes with it. It's, if you look at the research now, women that weightlift, so long as you start properly, will physically outlive people that don't.
Yeah.
And I mean, as in like, people say, oh, you shouldn't deadlift, squat, it's bad for your knees. But actually, when you do it properly, you'll have a lot more longevity. You'll be one of those 90-year-olds that are whizzing around the old people's home, as opposed to being all bent over and not being able to do anything.
Yeah. So I've been a dancer like my whole life.
Yeah.
I think you know that. But it's definitely where I say I've been a dancer my whole life. I haven't danced since COVID properly. So I was training since I was born. My mum is a dance teacher, so I was literally like born into it. Naturally gifted, loved doing it, and literally danced my whole life. Went on to train, was going to perform, ended up teaching for my mum. And then it came to COVID, and I've gone from teaching virtually every day, dancing in my kitchen just for fun, to sitting at a desk every single day of my life. And it's definitely when you stop that you're
use it
like,
or lose it.
Yeah. And you feel the difference in your bones, in your heart, like in everything. And then sometimes I just get the urge just to like kick my leg up really high. And it's like...
So do I, but that would never be a good idea for me to do that.
See, that's my thing. Like I've always like, my leg's always been up by my head. Like I used to get told off in netball because my leg would be getting the ball, not my hand. And it's just, that's just the way, like I always say once a dancer, always a dancer, because you have that urge to do these things and you feel crap when you stop doing these things. And then I'm thinking with you, did you do anything when you were younger? Obviously you were playing rugby and everything. Have you always been active from a child, or how did you develop into playing rugby and then becoming the world's strongest woman? Like,
so I've always been into athletics. So I was one of the, if not the fastest girl in the country sprinting until I was about 13 or 14. Must have been about 13. I've always had horses, always ridden horses. So I've always been very sporty and loved running around and jumping over things and doing that sort of stuff. I've always had, I still do, have two big brothers who were also quite sporty. So keeping up with them as well.
Did that kind of spur you on as well to, from the female male, being the male, to the two male people in your life were bigger and older than you? From a child, does that make you go, did you play fight with them? And like,
I did play fight with them. Do you know what? I've never really thought about it before, but me and my elder brother, he used to come running with me and he used to beat me all the time. And that might be where I got my competitive streak from, because I was so desperate to beat him in a running race.
Regardless of you being female and he being male.
And me being a good few years younger as well. So perhaps that in that sense, that might have what sort of spurred me on. And I think that's also why I can't stand it when someone says for a girl, because I definitely held my own in a fight with my brothers, that's for sure.
Love that. I'm older than my brother, definitely not bigger than my brother now, but older than my brother, and I just used to bully him all the time. It was so bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but I definitely didn't let them beat the crap out of me, that's for sure. But and then just going into, so I did a lot of athletics at school. But then from the age of around 13, 14, I made a lot of bad choices. I got chucked out of school, took a lot of drugs, lived a very unsavory lifestyle. And it wasn't until I started coming out the other side of all of that I recognized that I needed sport and I needed a goal and I needed focus and healthy competition in my life to keep me on the straight and narrow. I can't remember why specifically rugby. I think watching it, I really loved the running around and the chasing stuff and the impact and having an all-female group to be a part of as well. I think that's what appealed to me. I literally had 3 training sessions before I got my leg broke. So it didn't 2 days before my first ever game as well, which was really annoying. So really I think that's probably where that came from.
Gosh, imagine that.
Yeah, it was, I heard it and I remember thinking, I thought my studs had gone across some concrete. And then I looked and I'm like, I'm in the middle of a field, there is no concrete. And I've looked down and my foot is round the other way. And I very calmly said to someone, I think you might need to call me an ambulance. I think you might need to go and get me a blanket in case I go into shock. Could you please call my husband? But please make sure you start with don't panic, which then obviously makes somebody panic immediately. And I just remember bossing everybody around and telling everyone like what they had to do. And then I heard the ambulance turn up and the sirens were blaring. And all I kept thinking was, I'm going to be so embarrassed if this is a sprained ankle. Like, I actually hope I broke something. And I did. I had to have it all pinned back together. It was,
my God.
Yeah, it was a nasty
How does
break.
that happen? How was it with someone else, or was it just the way?
So one of the smallest girls, she was tiny, even smaller than I was. She just tackled me, and she tackled my foot. And because she came at me with such speed and force, my foot went the opposite way around my leg. So you can see in the X-rays, like it's a rotation spiral break from my tibia and fibia. Just went. Oh.
God.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So from like childhood then, so obviously you're physical, did all that. When you hit sort of being a teenager, were you in competitions at school? And
No, only to see who could take the most drugs in the evening and do the most shots. And
really?
Yeah.
From what age was that?
13 years old. In fact, it was my 13th birthday. Somebody brought me a gram of speed, and that's when it all started. I think I'd probably smoked weed before then, but yeah, for my 13th birthday is when it all went
So you're
downhill.
speaking to somebody that's really, really naive when it comes to drugs.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
But, well, kind of, because, I mean, I've got some stories there.
Yeah.
But I've sat with people not knowing what was going on,
Yeah.
just thinking, maybe that's a bit weird. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. And now, like, I've had things explained to me that I really should not have been in that room.
Right.
But I never, like, was offered anything or, like, which was good. Well, I mean, I would have said no anyway, because
Yeah.
I think I had an inkling that it wasn't normal. But, yeah, so we can dive right into that, and you can educate me.
Wow.
So I mean, if someone would have offered me speed on my 13th birthday, that's just not a world that I come from. That wouldn't have like been a thing. I wouldn't have understood. I'd be like, what, are you joking? I'd probably have just laughed and like kicked a leg in the air and done the splits.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so like,
So I grew up in a really rough council estate. Like, it was a very rough council estate. And the school I went to was pretty rough. And I think if you look at the sort of the groups of kids that hung around with each other, you could tell which groups were from the trauma, screwed up, messed up family side and versus the girls that we used to call the plastics, who turned up with their immaculate hair and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so it was I think you attract your people, especially when you're that age, or people old, especially the older kids, learn to recognize, there's someone who has very low self-esteem, who is very susceptible to absolutely anything. And yeah, I can't even remember why they offered it to me specifically, how I got it. I just remember somebody offering me a gram of speed, and I remember.
Did you know what it was?
Yes, I knew what it was, and I had heard people talk about the effects of it and how that you just have an amazing time and you feel great. And I was like, I want to have an amazing time and feel great, because I've not really had any or many amazing times, and I definitely don't feel great right now. So that was my let's take drugs to.
So, okay, that's interesting, because that's like talking about it in a child's manner and the way a child thinks about it. So if I'd have had somebody go, take this, you have an amazing time, my natural response in that situation would have been, but I already have a good time.
Yeah.
Because I was such a happy, bubbly, positive person, and obviously had a different perspective on things than you had at that age. So what led to you then feeling, I've not had, I need some happiness? What was missing there to? So
I was very severely neglected as a child, and I lived in a very unsafe household. And I think the fact that somebody actually offered it to me, that somebody was giving me something, which made me feel really special, because they were like, no, you don't need to pay for it. In hindsight, when you look back now, I kind of got groomed a little bit.
Were they older than you, or was it
a couple of years older than I was? Yeah. So we were still at school, and they were still at school. I do remember that much. So I had no self-esteem, very little self-respect, if any. And I was just a very traumatized, very sad child that I wanted to fit in with a group of people, and I was never going to be in the group where they all look nice and pretty and lovely. I was never with the cool, funny kids, because I didn't have the confidence to be that person. So when the group of kids that took loads of drugs all the time appeared, I was like, these are my people. Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So going a little bit deeper then, so growing up, you were obviously in an unsafe household. Did you grow up, say, baby Meg, were you born to your mum and dad living together?
No, so my mum and dad split up when I was about 3, and my mum then met. So the story that she told me in fact, I only found out by accident that she'd lied to me most of my life. She told me that my dad neglected her all the time, was always at work, was never at home. So she ended up getting fed up and leaving. I found out on my 18th birthday by pure coincidence that actually he found her in bed with somebody else. And that somebody else was someone that we had to live with for a very long time. And let's just say he was not a nice human being. So we've moved away from where I grew up to this council estate. There was him, my mum, and my 2 brothers. And I did see my dad fairly regularly, but because of the stuff that my mum had said about my dad, I didn't see him as much, and I was quite I was quite resentful of him for leaving us with this man that we absolutely hated. Yeah.
So it was the man that you had to live with that caused the abuse to yourself and your mum, or?
No, she was a big part of it.
Really?
So the neglect, I would say, I mean, she's my mum, right? She should have been looking after us, and she didn't. We had a yard full of horses. We had sheep and cows and pigs and all that sort of stuff. The horses we had a horse box. They always had their shoes done, and they had nice rugs and all those kind of things. And I would go to school with shoes that I'd worn for 3 or 4 years, and the bottoms had fallen off, and my feet were always cold and wet, dirty socks, shirts that were always brown and stained and dirty, and jumpers that were always so old that they were chewed and frayed all the way up to my elbows. So irrespective of his part to play in it, she was my mum, and she should have protected me, and she did, or us, and she didn't. So whether he was toxic and controlling or whatever, I don't know. I was too young to understand any of that, but he was mentally abusive. He was very emotionally, he was very emotionally abusive. And my mum didn't only neglect us with the basics that we needed. There was a lot of emotional neglect as well. There was very little love in the house.
Yeah. I can imagine like narcissism and feeling.
I do think she's a massive narcissist. Yeah. Like now I know what that is.
Yeah. Now you've got the words.
Yeah. And I've trained as a counsellor and a therapist and a behaviour specialist and trauma practitioner and all those kind of things. So I can now see it. And she probably has been through her own stuff, but as far as I'm concerned, that's never a good enough excuse to let your kid go through that.
Do you speak now?
No. So about 5 or so, she's not met my 7-year-old, so it must have been longer than that. So about 8 or so years ago, must have been actually 9 years ago, she sent me a message one day and said, I'm sure one day you'll tell me why you don't send me Mother's Day cards anymore. Because as I'd got older and as I'd had my now 17-year-old, I started to realise that what she let happen was not okay. And the more I learnt about things, the less okay I was with her. So I told her. I wrote her a long text message and told her. And she did exactly what I knew she was going to do. She ignored me for a few days, and then she asked to speak to me in person. She didn't. She first said I was making it up, and I was like, but the whole family talk about it. So if I'm making it up, the entire family must be in on that lie with me. She then blamed me. She then blamed my stepdad. She blamed my brothers. She played the victim. And at no point has she ever said to me, I'm really, really sorry that I let that happen. How can I help you moving forward? Because you can't change the past, and I completely appreciate that, and I don't want her to do that, but she's never tried to make
acknowledge.
Up for it. Yeah, she's never taken any ownership, never taken any accountability, and she still messages me and stuff sometimes. And I saw her at my brother's 50th birthday, and the only reason I went was for him, and she came boundering over to me, gave me a hug, which made me feel sick. And she would not leave me alone. And I ended up saying to my brother, I'm sorry, but I have to leave. And I'm like, the absolute audacity to come over and act like nothing is wrong and not even say to me, is it okay to sit and talk to you? And you encroached in my physical space. She's texted me a few times since. I'm like, no, I'm not engaged in it now. Like that.
What about your children?
She was there. My Dottie was there. And I did not tell Dottie who she was. So Dottie, she turned 7 yesterday. And I ended up standing in between them both because my mum was like, oh, just fussing all over her. And I was like, I don't want her to know who you are. Yeah. So I ended up leaving. And I didn't want Dottie to get confused.
Yeah.
Because I've got a stepmom who is amazing and has been better than any mum I could ever wish for. And Dottie thinks that she's my mum. She knows she's my stepmom, but doesn't really understand what that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to introduce her to my actual mum, and then her see me not want to talk to her, or
And then she's
anything
going to
like
have
that.
a ton of questions as well.
It would just be too confusing, and I didn't want her to start building a relationship with her for me to then not. So my eldest daughter is free to do whatever she wants. If she wants to have a relationship with her, I fully support that. But I do not want my young child at this age having any kind of relationship with her. So that was difficult. But
they need to be old enough to know their own
100%.
mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that when they know the truth, because I'm assuming that will
my eldest daughter
be
does.
a conversation at some point.
Yeah.
But they are old enough to make an informed, logical adult decision rather than just confuse the child.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
hard. Isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So obviously your mum hasn't sort of acknowledged anything. So I'm assuming she's not obviously
She's not on the Christmas card list.
So the work that you've done, you obviously all the therapy and everything you've done and trained in. So it's not just that you've had the therapy yourself, you've actually trained and learnt the psychological processes and things. I'm assuming she's not had any.
To my knowledge, no.
And now you knowing sort of, if you were to sit and have a conversation with her, not as the daughter, but as the therapist, where would you go with that?
I would, as a therapist, we're trained to sit and listen. So it would have to be whatever, it would be led by her. I think there's a lot of denial, and she's probably blocked out a lot of stuff that's happened. My nan hinted a few times that, oh, well, she's had stuff happen to her. So it would have to be led by her. Without somebody sitting there having that conversation. And to be honest, I think I'm probably too blocked off for my brain to want to go there to be able to picture it like that, to be honest. Yeah,
because something must have, and this isn't me trying to defend her in any way, but something must have happened there to act in that way. Because I mean, for most people, their natural instinct, like you, is to protect your child. And you were saying with the horses and the way she treated the horses, but she didn't match that behaviour with the children. So that's like, well, you obviously have that level of care and understanding and fuss about you.
Yeah.
But just in the wrong place. And that makes me wonder, I'm no therapist, but I would love to deep down and like understand.
Yeah.
You've obviously got it in you, so why would that not?
So when my eldest daughter was younger, so I think when she turned between 3 and 6 years old, before I met my now husband, I started taking on some of the traits that my mum displayed to me. And one of those traits was I found it very difficult to hug and love and show a lot of affection to my now eldest daughter. But I recognized that I was starting to do that. And I think when I think about my grandparents, they were also the same. They were quite standoffish. They were quite shut down. So she's obviously never learned how to be affectionate. But I was exactly the same, and I'm very loving and affectionate to everybody else, but I wasn't directing that at Summer, who is my eldest daughter. But fortunately for me, I managed to catch that fairly quickly, and I recognized that in myself, and I worked very, very hard to
did the
change
work,
it.
and that's the difference, isn't it? They always say every part of change starts with awareness and recognizing either a pattern or just recognizing a certain behavior.
Yeah, and I think you can be really aware, but without then knowing what to do with that awareness. And I knew, as soon as I knew I was pregnant, I said to myself, I will never, ever put my daughter through anything that I went through. And if I'm starting to fail as a parent or I'm struggling, then I'll find a way to make it better. Like, that's never going to be a thing, being shit on purpose all the time. And but there was a period of time where I knew I was being shit. I think I'm probably quite hard on myself as a parent.
I think sometimes we all are.
But I didn't know where to go with that and what to do with it. So training to be a counsellor, I only had a few actual counselling therapy sessions myself. I then trained to be a counsellor, and that actually helped. And then all the work I've done since then, that has really, really helped me to understand my own behaviour and other people's behaviour as well.
Yeah. If I could rewind, I'd love to do some sort of work in.
You don't need to rewind. You can still do it.
Yeah, you've got a good point, and that comes back to what you've done in your 30s. Yeah, but I always find it so interesting.
Yeah,
just psychology and subconscious minds and subconscious behavior and stuff like that. I find it so
it is very interesting. And when you start to understand it and you start to recognize your own behaviors, and it's why I'm probably one of the most unjudgmental people you'll ever meet. I don't excuse people's behavior if you're being an absolute asshole and you're just absolutely vile to people. That's not something I'll ever excuse. But, knee-jerk reactions and deflection and cutting people off, or people that talk too much, or people that don't talk a lot, or, I recognize those behaviors in myself as well, which is why I'm then able to empathize and not judge the person that's showing those behaviors, because I've been so judged in my life, so misjudged. What people were seeing on the outside was far, far from what was going on on my inside, and I couldn't understand. So I used to get called arrogant all the time, and I'm like, I'm literally too terrified to speak right now. My voice box has shut off, my throat feels like it's closed, and words are not coming out my mouth. So how do people think I'm arrogant? And then I realised, because I'm not speaking and I'm shut down and I'm shut off, I look like I'm just going,
looks like you don't care. Or...
Looks like I think I'm too good to talk to you. Or when my anxiety kicks in and you can't shut me up. And that's pure adrenaline and my anxiety going, and me needing to put myself in the centre of attention, because then I have full control over the situation, and people are going, oh, you're such an attention seeker. And I'm like, that's the last thing I want right now is you giving me attention. I need to be the person that puts that out there, if that makes sense. So I've really started to understand when I see other people, they just won't shut up. And I'm like, why do you think they won't shut up? Like, some people do love the sound of their own voices, but some people are so nervous and anxious that they just can't switch that switch off.
That's interesting, because what you're saying there sort of makes sense to the Meg that I know now. And obviously we've been on a bit of a journey together on stages and stuff like that. And we've done a bit of work together. And I remember you saying to me that there's this, and it was a conversation when you were being introduced on stage about being the world's strongest woman and don't mess with Meg and all this. And it's like, well, I can't. I think you actually took them aside and said, please don't introduce me like that. Because it automatically gives someone the wrong impression that you don't want them to have that, because people do. They say don't judge a book by its cover and don't take first opinions and all that, but we do, as naturally, that's just what we do. But you need them to make their own mind up about you and show you and the soft side of you, not just the world's strongest woman that can pick people up and throw them over the shoulder. Like that's kind of the performance, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's, you don't want the mask to be the person that's being judged as such.
Yeah, being strong is something that I do. It's not who I am.
Who you are.
And, like you said, and for context, so when I was being introduced on stage, and I get why they were doing it. The person introduced me, don't mess with Meg, like, she's really tough, and I don't want to argue with her.
And completely in a playful manner as well.
Absolutely.
No bad intent.
Yeah, 100%. But a lot of that also came from a lot of women. I don't want to train with you because you'll laugh at me because I'm not strong enough. Like, I would never laugh at anybody for going into the gym and making a start. Like, I don't care how much you can lift. I'll only care if you want me to care. But I'm not a shouty person. I'm not a stand there and scream at you kind of personal trainer. And I hate conflict. And I am a very calm, I like to think kind, nice, approachable person. But when I walk in with my guns out and all that sort of stuff, people
and your massive water bottle.
Yeah, my massive water bottle. People automatically assume that I'm like this really tough, unapproachable person. And I don't want people to think that about me, because I'm not. That's not who I am.
No. Teenage years, anyway, I'm assuming. How old were you when you met your husband? Because it's from the way you talk about him, from any conversation we've ever had in the past, it seems like it's been a long time.
It's only been 10 and a half years.
Really?
Yeah, we've only been together 10 and a half years.
So I've got this, like, from the way you talk and everything, it's almost like he's been your childhood sweetheart. No. That's the way it sort of comes across to someone that doesn't know the back history.
Yeah, no, I like that. But no, 10 and a half years. I mean, it probably seems like forever to him.
So your teenage years, anyway, you got into your dodgy spell. What got you out of your dodgy spell?
So I literally remember the exact moment when I knew my life had to change. I used to go to a lot of after parties because I used to go out clubbing all the time. and we'd end up at complete random strangers' houses. Sometimes I'd spend days with people I'd never even met before. But that was the 90s, right? Like most people did that.
I don't know. I was only 3.
Yeah. All right. Young'un, whippersnapper. So I was at this after party, and whilst I used to take quite a lot of hard drugs, I drew the line at things like crack and heroin and all those I never injected anything. But this one instance, somebody offered me a crack bong or a crack pipe, or it involved smoking crack.
Okay, this is where we're going to have to, you're going to have to educate me. What's crack?
It is like to be honest, I don't even really remember. It's like a really strong cocaine. It's like the next,
but you smoke it because cocaine goes up your nose.
Coke goes up your nose, and then you've got crack that you can either smoke or inject, and then you've got heroin. So
I don't know how we could inject.
Yeah, crack is like the next step before heroin. It's not. It's definitely a really harsh Class A drug. So they gave me this crack bong or crack pipe or whatever it was, and I took a big drag, and as the smoke, I blew the smoke out, and literally as the smoke cleared, I still don't know if I was hallucinating or not, but I see...
What does it do to you then? Like, does it make you hallucinate?
I don't know. I really can't remember, to be honest. I was really... It gave me the most clarity I've ever had in my life, because I see these 2 little kids sat in the corner in their white vests and their pants, surrounded by adults, absolutely off their trolleys, and these kids were dirty and scruffy, and there was no carpet or anything on the floor, and it looked just like my house that I grew up in. And I remember looking at these 2 kids, and their parents were over there absolutely wasted, and I looked back at these 2 kids and I thought to myself, you either need to get up right now and leave, or that's going to be your children.
Oh my God.
And I got up and left. And it wasn't an easy transition because all my friends went out and took drugs. The only way I ever knew how to self-soothe and self-regulate and bury my problems was with drugs. So I had to completely change my identity. I had to, not as in change my passport, but who I am had to be a completely different person, or go back to being the person that I lost while I was in my years of taking drugs.
So would you say you were like addicted to it because that was your coping mechanism as such? Or
wasn't addicted,
borderline?
no. I was reliant upon, because if you're addicted to things, you have to then go through the whole
therapy and
not just therapy, but the, what's it called? When they shut you in a room and you detox and all that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, rehab.
Yeah. I didn't have to detox off anything, but I was very reliant. I was emotionally reliant. And because I started taking drugs at the age of 13, and the amount of trauma I'd been through, my brain kind of stuck at a 13-year-old's brain, even though I was now 25-ish, I think.
I've heard that before in like other podcasts and stuff. A lot of people have said that you kind of, it's almost like I suppose it stops your development to a certain extent.
It does. No, trauma, without going into a huge amount of details, it will give you non-permanent brain damage. So when you go through a lot of trauma as a child, it doesn't give you the building blocks and the learning blocks that you should go through developmentally. So even as a 13-year-old, I was still really immature in a lot of ways. I was very emotionally immature. I was relationship. So we have 5 different ages. We have our actual age, so the day we were born. We have our education age, so, our ABCs, 1, 2, 3, and that kind of thing. We have our relationship age, so how we relate to people, how we see relationships. We have our cognitive age, so the things that we understand. So there's 4 of them. And on all 4 of those levels, 3 of those levels, other than my actual age, I functioned at a much lower age, but I presented as street smart, but actually I was street exposed, and I'd learned to copy people older than me.
Right, yeah.
So I've forgotten where we were going with this. What was the question?
What was the question?
Oh, how did I get myself out of it? No, then we led on to something else, didn't we?
This is what happens with conversations.
And when you've spent years taking drugs. Yeah. I think we talked about, coming out of it. So, I had to change my group of friends, and I had to spend years basically teaching myself to be a grown-up and missing out on all the milestones and everything that I missed out on. And it was a long, hard slog, that's for sure.
Did you stick with those friends, or did you have to distance yourself from them?
I distanced myself. I don't think I'm still in touch with any of the friends. I mean, are they really your friends? When you're all in a drug state frenzy, you don't really know the people that are around you. I don't think I keep in touch. I don't think I keep in touch with anybody.
Yeah, I wonder how they're doing it as well. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. But when I
Hopefully
reflect
they've-
back on it, so I was about 16 when I moved to Horsham, and I met this guy who then became my boyfriend, and he was nearly 40 years old. And when
what age were you then? 20?
16,
Whoa.
I was 16.
Okay.
Yeah. So, when you reflect back and think about that kind of stuff and the situations, I don't know how I'm still alive. I genuinely don't know how I didn't get murdered or get hit by a train. The amount of times I took loads of drugs and then walked down a railway track or just did the most dangerous things. I'm surprised that I come out the other side.
Someone watching
relatively
over you.
unscathed. Yeah. But yeah, so I had to just relearn, I had to learn how to be me. And that took, and obviously with the amount of drugs I took, that ate away a lot of my confidence, my self-belief, really increased my anxiety and depression because it changes your brain chemicals. And I'd never learned how to deal with anything. So I spent a very long time having to learn all those skills.
Do you find that still affects you now on how you cope with certain things?
No, I'm honestly so good at coping with stuff now. Like people will say to me all the time, does anything faze you? And I'm like, not really, because unless I'm about to die, you can figure it out, right? There's always a way to figure something out. So I'm very resilient now. There's been a few times this year where I'm like, oh, can I cope with this? But yeah, I'm very resilient.
But then you've got so much to have to cope with it for.
Yeah.
In that you've got your children, you've got your home, you've got your husband, you've got all the you've got purpose to cope with it. Whereas maybe back then you didn't have a purpose because of the way that your family made you feel. And were your brothers, because obviously you said you used to play fight with them, were you still quite close? Did they help get you out of it at all? Were they aware of what you were doing?
My older brother I wasn't close to at all when we were younger because he was like the boffin, the square, the geek, and he never put a foot wrong, and he did really, really well at school. So he was so different to me and my middle brother, who we used to get wasted together and take drugs together, and we all hung around with the same people. So did they help me get out of it? No, not really. That was my...
Did you get out of it before your brother then?
I generally can't remember, to be honest. Yeah, I can't remember. It was such a long time ago. I can't really remember. I know my mum used to pay him to tell her if I was smoking and doing things I shouldn't be doing, all the while he was doing it at the same time.
Really?
Yeah.
So was she aware that you were doing it and everything?
Yeah.
And but she wasn't bothered, or she did try
I just think she just didn't give a shit by the time it got round to me, because my middle brother was even worse than I was. He was always getting in fights, getting arrested, and he would have physical fights with my stepdad, and he would cause a lot of obvious chaos, whereas I would do it a lot more quietly. And I very rarely got caught because I learnt from him how to not get caught. Like, I spent 2 weeks not going to school, and she didn't even know that I'd skived off school for 2 weeks. So I learnt how to get away with stuff.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's I hope you don't think that I'm like...
No, it's all good.
Like, I'm not judging in any way. It's just so interesting. And I love either watching stuff on TV or speaking to people that have had such a different life to me, because to me, my life is normal. I just assume everyone lives like that. Whereas I've grown up in this bubble, which me and my partner have this conversation quite often, actually. It's not necessarily done me any favors, because again, when at the age of 16, 17, 18, I don't know how I ended up not being killed, or at least something bad happening to me. And that's through pure naivety, in that I just lived in this safe little bubble and assumed everyone around me was good. And it's like, actually, so I was aged, I would have been probably the age of 17 to 20, where I was working in nightclubs and stuff like that. I was going out and drinking a little bit. I've never been a massive drinker because I just didn't like the taste of it. But I would be walking home on my own, dressed in next to nothing, because I was a dancer at these clubs as well. And just the way I dressed when I'd been on a night out anyway. And I remember being stopped once by someone asking me if I was a prostitute. And thank God that person was a decent person and took my no as okay, I'll leave you alone. He easily could have been like, well, you are tonight. And do you know, and just those things, like the amount of times I've walked around in the middle of Southend in Essex, of all places, and it's like, how can you be so stupid if my children, well, my daughter would do some of the things that I did when I was that age just through pure stupidity?
I don't think it's stupid. I think, like you said yourself, you had such a strong sense of safety because your parents clearly loved you a lot and kept you safe. Why would you know any different? Like I knew different and I still did it anyway. So I think that's probably more stupidity. But when you create a safe space for your child and that loving, caring, safe environment, why would you assume that there was bad people out there?
Yeah.
And we didn't have Facebook and Instagram, and it probably was as rife, but we just didn't know about it as much because we didn't have the quick access to it like we do now.
And you'd see things on the news, but that's on telly, so it's not real life.
And that's someone else, right?
Yeah.
You can't
it's
relate
never going
to
to happen to me.
Yeah.
But it's mad, isn't it? Whereas now, like, look, I don't live in Southend anymore, thankfully, because I'm in the group on Facebook and I see all these like stabbings. And I'm like, oh my God, could you, like, I wouldn't let my children out of my sight. But then I have to realise that this is like normal to so many people. And I'm just in this bubble, and I'm just conscious of like not seeming like I don't know. I don't want to come across like I don't know.
Oh no, I didn't have any trauma in my life. I think it's a really valid point. Some people I know haven't been through any significant things and never went out drinking. They're like, oh, have I missed out on life? And like, no, because if you experience a different side, you experience different things, and you know, there's definitely never a downside to being loved and being made to feel safe. And you're obviously creating that for your family. So, but you're aware of perhaps that you didn't learn certain skills, but you now know you can pass those on to you can teach your children those skills, right?
Yeah, I think I'm more cautious of making my children more streetwise than I was. And like with my other half as well, he is way more streetwise than I was. Like he's never ended up in like trouble or anything, but he grew up in Essex and his teenage years in Southend, so he's been more exposed to more of a crazy life, whereas I've been brought up in a little village or in a little town, and it's just different sort of lifestyle, isn't it? So he's got more streetwise knowledge, I suppose. And I have now, from being in that, like I moved away when I was 16 to Essex and everything, and was living in Southend, like I said, and just doing silly things because I knew no but different. But it's those experiences that have made me go, wow, I really should have known about stuff like this. And yeah, I'm just trying to learn and make sure my children aren't as sheltered, is probably the word.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing is you're not an idiot, like, and you are aware of these things. No, you're not. You're clearly not an idiot. And I think if you were to ask, certainly if you were to say to me, would you want to swap lives? Would you want to have gone through everything you've gone through or had a nice loving family? Like I'd jump in your shoes like in a heartbeat, in an absolute heartbeat. But we can't change our past. It's just what we do with it, right?
Yeah.
As we move forward and what we pass on to our children. And you're clearly able to pass on and have those hard conversations with your kids, even though you haven't experienced it yourself. Like.
Yeah, I think we're so real with our children. Like I think we've got a really odd dynamic actually in our family, because we're so, we don't cross boundaries or anything, but we're so like honest and open.
It's not odd. It's how it should be.
Do you think?
100%. I think it's odd when you're not honest with your children. Yeah. As long as it's age and them appropriate and you're not scaring the shit out of them. I don't, like my 17-year-old, she's now 17, she knows almost everything that I've done. Like she'll know some more when she's a little bit older. And because of that, she does some stuff, but she's 17 and she's a 17-year-old girl, but she is so much more sensible, and our relationship is so open and we're so close because I'm able to say to her, look, I'm not on your case, but this is what happened to me as a child. Here's the decisions that I made, and here are the natural consequences that came because of that. And I don't want you going through that. And because I can have those honest conversations with her, when she is doing daft things, It doesn't come across like I'm just nagging her and being an annoying parent. If that makes sense.
And she knows that she can come to you if something
Absolutely.
did happen, and you're not going to like judge her or be like,
100%.
you're a stupid child, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Because you were like, right, I did that. Let's just pull our lives together.
No, she always comes
Sort
back
yourself
with,
out.
yeah,
Dush.
she'll come back with, well, you used to do this, this and this. I'm like, I know I did. And I know I was worse than you, which is why I can say
Do as
to
I
you,
say, not as I
yes,
do.
100%. But she's pretty sensible and she's pretty chilled out, to be honest.
Yeah, that's good. But I think, again, that comes from you being open, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the relationship you've built on that. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with, like, I'm such a strong believer in showing your children who you are. And because if you're strong enough to be your true authentic self in front of your kids, you're sending a very clear message to them that that's okay for them to do that too.
Yeah.
Because we live so many years of our lives hiding parts of who we are, when actually those parts are amazing and they're powerful and they're strong. Why would we not want to, like, if you would never say to your children, hide that part of yourself. Don't
my gosh.
don't dull yourself down. Well, I hope you wouldn't.
No.
There are some parents that would, but you would never want your child to not live their full authentic selves. But you can't expect them to do that if you're not role modeling that and you're not showing them how to do that. So I think it's more odd when people don't, because I told you so. I told you not to do it just because I told you so.
Yeah.
You're not teaching your child anything by doing that.
Yeah.
If you can give them real lived examples, you're going to really help arm them as they get older.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, our evenings in our family are just funny sometimes. I wish I could like have a camera on the wall just to like film some of the stuff that we get up to, because it's just ludicrous. Like I don't act the way I do with anyone, probably the way I do at home. And I think we're all the same. Like we're just all four of us. We turn on the disco lights. We have loads of music going. We're just weird.
It's not weird. I love it. And like I said, if you can't be like that in the confines of your own four walls, where can you be like that? So I think it's great. And I think it sounds like you're setting a really good example to your children, that just be
so.
you, especially in front of your family. Like, you should be able to be whoever you are in front of your family.
Yeah. Yeah, you just want them to be safe, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. But there's so many different realms of what safe is. And for me, so me and my husband talk about this quite a lot. So he does a lot of the cooking, and I hate using this terminology because it shouldn't even be a thing, but he's a hands-on dad, which I absolutely hate that saying, because that shouldn't be a question, that shouldn't be a thing. But we share equal responsibilities. If he probably does a bit more physical stuff than I do. And what often gets overlooked is the parent that's keeping the family emotionally safe, the parent that is showing their children what boundaries mean, the parent that is helping their children to emotionally regulate, the parent that is showing their children that it's okay to be yourself and express who you are, and how to but how to manage your big emotions and those kind of things. And I remember saying to my husband one day, if you stop mowing the lawn, if you stop doing the cooking and all those kind of things, I can do that. What happens when I stop emotionally regulating and looking after our mental health? What happens when I stop doing that? The shit hits the fan, right? And that's never looked at enough. And it's so under I don't want to say praise, because I'm not doing it for praise, but the one that's doing the most physical, tangible things, oh my God, they're so amazing, they do all this. Well, what about the one that's keeping you emotionally safe? Like, why aren't they being recognised and talked about more? Because
that's a really good point, actually. I've never even thought about it in that way.
Yeah, and that proves my point, right? There's normally one who is doing all that work, but because you can't physically see the fruits of it, it gets overlooked and it doesn't get thought about enough.
Yeah, I'm trying to sort of apply that to our family dynamic as well. And I don't know, I don't think we, like you're saying about almost blue jobs, pink jobs, which shouldn't be a thing. And I mean, it's not really anymore as much as it has been.
Out, then I'm like, no, that's a blue job, isn't it?
But yeah, I think the physical jobs, I think we split quite equally. And then, when I think about the emotional things, I think it is quite an equal split, but maybe in different ways.
Yeah. But and that's not for me saying that my husband doesn't help emotionally support us. That's because he does. He's a very loving person. He's very playful. But, he will say himself, if Dottie, for example, is starting to be dysregulated, he'll just give her sweets or he'll shout at her instead of actually but because I've worked with kids for so long and I've worked in behaviour, I know how to help someone regulate and to calm themselves down. Whereas he's never been taught that before. So, that's not me throwing shade on him.
And you're depending on your own judgment and what you think is right. And probably how he's then been brought up and who's helped him regulate. Which, to be fair, emotional regulation wasn't a word when we were young. Like even when I'm a bit younger, but even when I was younger, that was not a thing, was it?
It was, because it's something that we've both worked really hard at. It was very prevalent when Dottie was a lot younger. So his way of emotionally regulating her or getting her to behave or do whatever we wanted her to was to shout at her. So then she'd start shouting back. So he'd shout even louder. And he's always been taught that the person that shouts the loudest or the person that's the most overbearing wins. So trying to explain to him, when she does that back to you, that's because you're teaching her how to do that. And I know that's how you've been taught, hierarchy in the family, but there is no hierarchy in this family. We are all on an even playing field, and we all need to learn how to support and understand each other. And it's made such a difference. Like, it makes a huge difference, that's for sure.
My other half, he's definitely more of the shouter. He's not a shouter, but if either of us were to shout, it would be him, because I hate loud noises. So I just hate shouting and everything. But he will. But then my daughter is so much like him. So she's 11 now. Gosh, she is 11. And they are so similar. So like you were saying, if he was to shout about something, she will just give it straight back. And then he'll be like, don't you shout at me. So he'll then shout. And then I'm literally just sitting there like, oh my God.
Yeah, so they say, don't they? Children don't often do what you tell them. They do what you show them.
Yeah.
Like, they will copy what they see, not often what you tell them to do. And that is very, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, this was a few years ago, and Adam and I have been through couples counselling. He's been through his own therapy, and we've worked really, really hard as a partnership. I'm not without. I can be quite cold and shut off and distance when I'm feeling upset and distressed and annoyed. So that's something.
That's what I'm like.
Yeah, that's something that I've had to work really hard on. But we've worked really, really hard together as a team, and we like to move forward and grow together. And we have these talking point cards. I don't know if you've seen them. They're so good. They've got kids ones and adults ones and lots of different categories. And we, every day, well, not every day, but at least once a week, Dottie will be like, oh, can we do the questions today? So she pulled a card out the other week, and it says something about relationships. I can't remember what the exact question was. And she said, what is a relationship? And we said, well, Mummy and Daddy are in a married relationship. You and Summer are in a sister-sister relationship. And we explained about the different types of relationships. And I said to her, do you think Mummy and Daddy have a good relationship? And she said, yeah. I said, why do you think that? She said, oh, because you're always giving each other smoochy kisses and hugs all the time. And then she went quiet, and we could see her little brain working. And then she said, and also because you really support each other all the time. And we were like,
oh, wow. From a 7-year-old?
She was 6 at the time. So this was, only nearly 7.
Oh, I love that.
And we looked at each other, and we both knew that the other one was thinking, I think we're doing this right. For a nearly 7-year-old to actually pick up on how much we support each other, I was like, I think we're getting this right. Like,
that's
we
lovely.
Sometimes get it wrong, but as a whole, she lives in such a positive environment that she can see what support and what good looks like. And that, to me, like, just...
I'm going to ask my children that.
They're really good. I can't remember. I think we got them from Amazon. You can put on ChatGPT, give me a question to ask my kids or whatever.
Yeah.
But she enjoys like picking out the category and
they like
the
physical side of it.
You can get couples ones, and they've been Adam and I are now really good at communicating with each other and telling each other when something's up. But if I'm in a bit of mostly it comes from me, if I'm in a bit of a space where I want to tell him something, but I don't quite feel ready to tell him, I'll be like, let's get the cards out. And it will eventually come out. But they're such a good tool to use to learn about each other, to gauge where you're at in this moment. And we've learned loads about each other, and they're really good fun as well. Like, you don't need to use them just when you're feeling upset and distressed.
Yeah.
Even when you're in a happy place, you're like, let's get the cards out, let's ask some questions. They're actually really good. Like,
I like that.
Yeah.
Me and Charlie, we've been on a bit of a journey with that sort of thing this year, in that we've been together nearly 15 years, right? And only this year have I actually started to, like you were saying, you get quite, or you did, but you not so anymore. I've always, there's certain topics where I would just go, woo, and I won't want to talk about it, or I won't want to go deep. And I think it's when I feel emotional about something, I won't go there, because and it's not that I don't want to tell him or I'm embarrassed or anything like that. I don't want myself to feel it, I think. So I'm just like, well, no.
Yeah.
But there's something happened this year that I don't even know how, but I don't know if it's maybe a level of his maturity, maybe, I don't know, where he's just asked the right questions or taken the right action to make me feel safe enough to actually say certain things to him. And the deepest conversations I've ever had in my life have happened this year with him. And it's well, how has it taken me 15 years to get there? It's mad.
Like you just said, though, the whole feeling safe, like that, the key to absolutely everything is how safe you feel. Are you being given that safe space to be vulnerable and to be open? And is he giving you a safe response back again? And if you don't get that, you're just going to go, shoop.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I just, when I look back, I'm like, but I think, because he's such a soft, lovely, warm, caring person that I don't know how I would ever not want to tell him anything. It's just, I think it's my problem. I don't think it's
100%,
him. I think it is me. And it's just me realising that actually it's okay to feel things.
It is. And I think, we're not so much as women, or maybe, I don't know, if we get emotional, we're just emotional when we're over emotional and stuff like that. Whereas men aren't allowed to be emotional because it means they're less of a man. But when women get emotional, oh God, she's so emotional, she's a woman. And I just think we've all been told that we're not supposed to have these emotions, and it's just bullshit. But my shutdown comes from a trauma response, and I only really figured it out literally a couple of months ago. I can't remember what happened between me and Adam, but I was really upset and quite distressed. And he was trying to talk to me. And so I run and he chases when we're in that space. And I need him to stop chasing me, but he needs me to come back to him. So it's like this cat and mouse thing. And I figured out that I just go really cold and I shut down. But when he tries to talk to me and I'm in that place, it makes me feel physically sick. And if he tries to hug me, my body goes into this really weird state where it hurts. Like, I don't mean he's like squeezing me too hard, but my senses I'm so hyper aroused and so on alert, and I'm so on like defense mode that when he tries to hug me, it makes me want to throw up. Like, it just gives me a real physical response. So I was trying to explain to him the other day, it's not a deliberate, oh, I'm not talking to you because you pissed me off. I'm not deliberately shutting him out. My body just shuts down and my brain shuts down. And until I'm ready, I can't give him what he needs.
Yeah.
So we've managed to now create this much safer space where if he's upset me or if I've upset him or we're upset, I will do something to not shut him out. So the other week it was I made him a coffee. We'd had a little bit of a disagreement. I was upset about something. And in order for me to be like, I'm still here and I'm still present, I just can't physically be with you right now. So I asked him if he wanted a coffee.
Yeah.
And that was enough for him to go, okay, you haven't checked out, you're still okay. And then he said to me, I'm going to reflect on he got a bit defensive about something. He was like, I'm going to go away and reflect on that and find out where that emotion came from. And I was like, okay, would you like a coffee? And that was then, it was fine after that. So again, like we were talking about being aware is great, but you need to go behind that awareness and you need to know what to do with it and how to move forward with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like maybe that's where I am, in that I've got the awareness and now I'm like, right, okay, now I need to know what to...
Now what do I do?
Yeah, what do I do with that?
Yeah.
And I think we've again, this year come up with, not come up with a saying, it's a saying, but better together is like our thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like we've got it in neon lights in our dressing room and stuff like that, because it's like, and it was my screensaver for a little while, because it's just that reminder that actually when we do simple things separately, like hanging out the washing or whatever, yeah, it gets the job done, but actually it's so much more fun to do it together. And everything happens better together. So when I have to remind myself, if I'm feeling in a certain way, I'm better with him or having him support me. And that's that's the only action I can think that I'm taking right now. But I need to, it's a learning process, I guess.
Yeah, but if you're already figuring it out with that, what do you need to learn that you're not doing? Do you think what's still quite not getting?
I always say that I'm cold-hearted. So well, in certain ways, in that I absolutely adore animals and children, and that's what makes me the softest, squishiest, warmest person that you'd never think I was cold-hearted at all. But then when it comes to like adults, I'm really horrible. But then I think it is a bit of a defense thing, in that I don't let myself care too much about anyone, within reason. Like obviously I adore my family and stuff like that, but when it comes to friendships, like I like people and we get on, and I get on with lots of people, but it takes a lot for someone to actually mean something to me. And then it's almost like I can control my emotions. If someone then upsets me, I go, oh, okay, goodbye, cut them out of my life. But it doesn't bother me. And then I go, well, I'm so cold-hearted. How can someone be in my life for, say, years, I don't know, as a friend, and then suddenly I can just go, yeah, I don't like you anymore?
I think you just have very clear boundaries that you've set yourself a very clear boundary. You've set yourself a standard, and you're like, if you're going to cross those boundaries and you're not meeting that standard that I need, see you later. I don't see that as cold-hearted.
No.
I see that as having, like I say, very clear boundaries. And there are people that would allow toxic people in their lives continuously doing the same things over and over again and not have the strength to say, nah, you don't serve me well. See you later. So I personally don't see that as being cold-hearted. I see that as being boundaried. And that comes back to, that you have this other safe world that you live in. So other people coming in and penetrating that and ruining that, you're like, nope, I've got this beautiful little bubble that I live in. And if you're going to pop that bubble, see you later. That's how I would view that.
That actually makes so much more sense. Isn't it interesting, just the reframing you can do in your mind? Because I've always thought, oh, I'm so horrible for doing that. But actually, no, that makes so much more sense.
I think you'd be more horrible to yourself.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Adam is a real people pleaser, but he's also very much like you're saying you are, in the sense that he was very, very guarded with his emotions and would not let me in until the last sort of 18 months to a year ago. We've recognised that looking after ourselves is so important for us to be able to then be our best with each other. Because if I'm unhappy or if he's unhappy and he's just doing something to make me happy and I'm just doing something to make him happy, we're not really happy. So and especially him, because he's such a people pleaser, he finds it very difficult to put people first. But he's really starting to recognise that that's absolutely fine, because it's not selfish. It would be selfish if he was eating all the food and spending all of our money. But looking after your own well-being, you're then able to give so much more to other people. Whereas if you spend your entire life worrying about other people, doing everything for them, eventually you'll have nothing left to give. And that'll be it. You'll burn out. And you're just, you've got to have your own life, and you've got to have your own personality and your own persona and your own care for yourself. And then you give that to other people. And I think people really struggle with that because they feel selfish. They feel like they shouldn't be putting themselves first. But actually, Adam and I mean, we've put it on our own podcast, but we made a promise to each other 18 months ago that we would always tell the other one the truth. It's not your decision to decide whether I can handle that truth or not. It's my response. I'm responsible for my own response, and vice versa. And we've really put that to test the last 6 months, and it has just it's been amazing. Like, we've always been connected really well and had a very deep connection, but this is like a whole nother level that I didn't know existed. And it's just insane, the trust and love and respect that we have through being so open and honest. It's just mental. Like, I just didn't know this thing existed until we just went, fuck it, we're going to do it. Here's who I am. Here's how I feel. There it is.
Yeah. I feel like that's really similar to like the last year that we've had or so. Just having those extra conversations that you wouldn't have with anyone else. And and
if they don't accept it, they're not your person, right?
Yeah.
If you're bearing your soul to someone and saying, this is who I am at my very core, and they don't accept it, they're not your person.
Yeah.
And I also really believe that if you're not showing somebody who you really are, so one of the reasons that I came out to Adam as being bisexual and that I wanted to start exploring being with other women and like with him at the same time, I kept thinking to myself, if you don't tell him this, you're not giving him the opportunity to, one, know who he's really married to. You're not giving him the opportunity to accept you or not accept you. And you're kind of living a little bit of a lie, and you're forcing him to live a bit of a lie. And he doesn't deserve that. He deserves to have the absolute truth, and then to make an informed decision based on the things that I tell him. And fortunately, because he's such an awesome, epic human, he was like, okay, well, it was a struggle to start with, but we've navigated our way through it and we're living our best lives now. It's amazing.
Yeah. So that's happened in the last 18 months, is it?
That was
That's
in
not-
August, while he was deployed.
Oh, wow.
So some people are like, why would you tell him that while he was deployed? Because I was really struggling. I was struggling to communicate with him because I knew I was holding something back, and I knew he was holding back how much he was struggling. And I knew it took one of us to push that button, and it had to kind of unravel to then build it back up again. So yeah.
This is really interesting because I remember having a conversation with you, must have been before all this happened, where you were saying like you were really down. I think I actually saw you cry about something.
Yeah.
Didn't go digging or anything. I saw you were upset about
BBE.
something. Yeah. You were upset, and you were saying how and I think you were on the phone to him and how he was really struggling, and he's been upset and he's been struggling being deployed. And that was sort of the extent of it. And now that's kind of putting the pieces of the puzzle together now.
Yeah,
I'm sort of understanding.
He was struggling beforehand because he's such a tactile doer, loves being around people, and his love language is, here, I'll do that. And I kept saying to him, when you're away, that goes. Like, you can't just make me dinner. You can't give me a hug. You can't do stuff for the kids. You cannot speak your love language while you're away. And he didn't realize how difficult he was going to find that.
So he didn't have like an outlet for
He
that.
didn't have an outlet, and he isolated himself, and he's a very sociable person. So he was going to work, which was not fulfilling him in any way, shape or form, because they weren't doing what he thought they were going to be doing, and he felt like he was adding no value. So that was starting to get to him. He was going to the gym and shutting himself in his room. And I knew he was struggling a bit with that. And then whilst I was absolutely smashing it, coping by myself, there was a part of me that was starting to find it difficult to talk to him because I didn't want to keep not telling him how I was feeling. So I knew I had to tell him. And I know him well enough to know how it kind of would have played out. He was more upset than I thought he would have been. But the more we've talked about it, he's actually realised that it was more, he was upset with himself because he was like, well, you've just told me who you are. You know who you are. Who the fuck am I? Who is Adam? Who am I without this job? My wife's at home absolutely smashing it without me. The kids are really good. She's coping really well, which on one hand, he was really pleased. But he's like, I'm not playing a part in that.
Yeah.
So how do I fit in? What's my role? I'm showing no value, his perspective, not the actual perspective.
Yeah.
He felt like he was showing no value at work. And he was starting to get really distressed by it. And he did actually start having quite a bad mental health episode. Don't know if that's the right word, but a mental health crisis. And he broke down and he had a few panic attacks, and, you know, he ended up getting therapy and professional help and all that sort of stuff. So he really struggled, but out of that has come the most amazing experience and the most amazing connection and trust that I never thought possible. Yeah. And we've learned so much more about each other after 10 and a half years. So one of the things being, so obviously I'm a muscular, athletic looking female, and I know he finds me attractive, but I didn't know how much he liked muscly women. And, you know, when we were talking about each other's types and stuff, and he was going, oh yeah, I think she's really hot and I think she's really fit and stuff. And I started laughing, and he was like, why are you laughing? And I'm like, because I didn't know this about you. I just assumed you just liked it because that's how I looked and you liked me, but I didn't know what your type was. And I know that sounds a bit weird when you're sat there with your husband objectifying women.
We do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just, and the fact that he was free to be able to say these things, yeah, it was a whole new experience for us. And although I've always said, oh, she's hot, and he's gone, yeah, she's all right and stuff like that. But we were really like, yeah, she's really fit. Like, she's my type and that sort of stuff. And it's just opened up a whole new dynamic and a whole new way of thinking for us as well.
So when did you know that, when did these feelings start creeping in? Because obviously from a sexuality point of view, most people tend to discover these things in their teens, adult lives, sort of early adult lives. So did you just not have the words? Did you question it? What led you up to knowing that's how you felt and needing to tell your husband?
So I'd been with a few women before I'd met Adam, but it had only ever been like a few drunken, drug-fueled nights out. I think I've kissed a few girls before. And before I met Adam, I did actually start looking for a girlfriend, but I wasn't quite ready to admit to myself that I really liked women. And then I met Adam, and like, he's amazing, and we just fell in love, and, you know, I chose him. And then while he was away, I don't know if you've ever watched that Channel 4, The Great Sex Experiment. Have you watched it?
No.
So we used to watch it together, and it was great watching the sex side of it. And then I started rewatching it for the relationship dynamics and how they were talking to each other and how they were relating to each other. And I remember watching this couple, and the girl was saying that she was so, because her boyfriend came out as bisexual, and she was like, I'm so proud of him. I'm so privileged and honoured that he trusts me with this information, that he knows I'll stand by him, and I love him even more for it. And that really started ringing a bell for me. And then I started listening to other couples and watching other couples talking about it. And I started thinking, every single one of the pair has started that conversation, and it's worked out really well. And then obviously I was getting really turned on by the thought of sleeping with other women, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I was also worried about Adam being lonely in Germany, because I know how tactile and sexual and stuff he is. So I said to him, like, if you want to go find a hot chick, that's absolutely fine. And he was like, oh no, you're the only woman for me. And I felt a bit disappointed. And then I kept thinking about him being with another woman. And I was like, why do I like this thought so much? This is really weird that I want my husband to sleep with someone else. And apparently it's a thing called hot husbanding. So we have great sex. I mean, we've been together for a long time, but he is really good in bed because he likes being good at everything. Like he likes, and that's a real advantage when we're having sex. And I really liked the thought of him really pleasuring another woman and then going, now get out. And me walking in going, yeah, he's mine. See you later. And apparently that's an actual thing. And obviously, like being in threesomes and that sort of stuff, I really liked the idea of that, and me being with women by myself and him being with women by himself. So that's kind of where it stemmed from. And I got my best mate to come up one weekend because I had to just say it out loud to someone just to make sure it wasn't just a fantasy, because I didn't want to blow his world apart, just on a bit of a fantasy. And I talked to her about it, and her response was everything I needed to hear. And she accepted everything that I said. And she was like, no matter how this plays out, I still love and accept you. You do what you need to do. And I was like, that's the answer that I need from Adam. Because if things are as good as I think they are, that's the response I'll get. Or having said that, things could have still be good and that not be for him. So it took a few days to navigate around it, and a lot of talking and a lot of explaining and a lot of understanding and all those kind of things. But we now live the lifestyle. So he went to like a day, it's called What Women Want, is an event, and he's been twice now and hooked up with other women, and then he comes home and tells me all about it, and like I love it.
Really?
Like, yeah. So the first time he went, he texted me and was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to go into details, but I had a great time. And I was like, I didn't want you to tell me over text. Like I wanted to see your face and I wanted to feel that excitement. Yeah. So when he went on Friday, I said to him, do not tell me until you get back. And then I don't even want you to tell me as soon as you get back. We're going to drag it out for a few hours. The not knowing is torture, but it's also really exciting. And it's just, it's not, if you'd said to me, I'd be doing this a year ago, I'd be like, there's no way I want him to sleep with other women. Like, absolutely not. But I love it now. Like it's weird, insane, but
it's not weird. It's just different. And I'm suddenly really intrigued. Again, like I said earlier, I'm so fascinated by other people that live a different life to me. And this to me is like, what? Like, do you not get jealous? Like,
no, I've never ever been a jealous person ever. And because I trust him, and we have boundaries, we have things. So if he's texting someone or chatting to someone on one of the, like, it's called a Swing Hub, the app where you meet other couples or women or whatever, as long as we're honest and transparent and we show each other the text messages and I'm always included and he's always included, I don't get jealous at all. I get turned on by it. Like, I love it. And he's actually quite popular. Like, he'll have 2 or 3 women coming up to him during the nights, and then he'll have women texting him afterwards on the app saying how much they enjoyed being with him or just meeting him and chatting to him. And I'm like, yeah, that's my husband.
So they know. So he could.
They all know he's married, yeah.
And they know that you know.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're being sneaky. Like,
no, they all know that I know. And they're all like, oh my God, why is your wife not here?
So do they do that with their husbands? Or
some of them.
Or are they single women? Or
so most of them are couples. So the biggest dynamic is a male and female couple who are looking for another woman to join them. The most prevalent thing is women going to play with other women. Like, I've basically decided I'm probably a lesbian that just chose to be with a man. That chose the one man to be with. But yeah, we don't. The only time I've ever got jealous is when we were starting to talk about it, and we did this role play thing where I was pretending to be another woman texting him and working on his text sexting skills and those kind of things. And he called, even though he was talking to me, I was pretending to be someone else, and he called her his something. And that really got me. And I was like, okay, there's a boundary there.
Right,
I was like,
yeah.
you can't call anyone else yours or anything like that. When he walks past me, when my feet are up on the sofa, he wiggles my big toe. And I'm like, you're not allowed to do that to anybody else.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because that's a real personal thing.
They're your little things. Yeah.
And you're not allowed to wink at anyone else, because he winks at me, gives me this cute little wink. I'm like, that's an us thing. And obviously like real filthy stuff, and we've got boundaries there. But yeah, other than that, it's like, yeah, go for it. Go out and have some fun and come back and tell me all about it and do what you want.
God, I just can't imagine.
It's wild. Like, I went to my first night a couple of months ago. Must be about 3 or so months ago now, and ended up hooking up with there was 4 of us in a bed, all girls at one point, and it was really good fun. And then
with your husband?
No. So he was at home, and one of the things that we really love about it is when it's called a reclaim. So when I got home, he reclaimed me as his. And even though I didn't get home till like 3 o'clock in the morning, the connection and the sex that we had was like insane, because he's taken me back again.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to explain without actually like going through the process. And the same when he comes back, when he's been with other women, the reclaim, I'm claiming him back. I get him back again. Like,
did you know this was a thing before you'd looked into it then?
Not really. Like, I've obviously I know that swinging was a thing, and I know a few couples where the men like sitting in the corner watching their wives do stuff, but I didn't know about all this other like hot husbanding. I didn't know. There's so many different.
Is it like an app or something?
Yeah, so it's called Swing Hub. So the Channel 4 documentary thing that was on, the people that own Swing Hub were part of this documentary. And so my husband is he's an engineer, so he wants to know processes, procedures, and he wants to know what everything means and what it does. So he was straight onto the apps. He was looking up all the words and all those kind of things. And he wanted to make a plan instead of this dragging out for ages. So he was like, right, we're going to go to this night, this, and blah, 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 blah. So he had it straight in his head. Whereas I was quite happy just to go along with it and see whatever. But yeah, so he's done all like the planning and whatnot.
And did he want to start off being there and being physically a part of it?
Yeah,
and
so to start
so that he felt safe to then...
Definitely. To start with, he was like, there's no way I'm going to be with another woman unless you're there. Like, I absolutely do not want that. Don't want to be with another woman. And now he goes out by himself. And like, it evolves and changes regularly. Like, what, we're learning about each other's boundaries and what we do and don't like and those kind of things. So it does evolve and change. But yeah, he was very adamant that he didn't want to be with another woman unless I was there. But because he knows how much I love hearing about it and how excited I get and how much it gets me going, he's like, I'll take one for the team, then I'll go out and play with another woman. But if it didn't excite me as much, then I'm pretty sure that he wouldn't want to, because it's my response to it that's the big turn on. So when he's doing something with another woman, he's thinking about coming back and telling me about it. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, my other half, like, I could never imagine. He's not like, he's protective in that. I was going to say I'm his without I'm not his property. He knows that. Like, we've got a very healthy relationship in that way. But he's just such a loyal person. I couldn't imagine.
Same with Adam. Like, and it really distressed him. He was like, but that's against the rules. Like, we're married. That's not supposed to happen. So once he kind of understood that it wasn't, it was okay to break those rules. And once he started talking to people that were already in the lifestyle, there's couples that have been together and doing this for like 20 something years. And the more he got to know other couples, and he goes to quite a few socials where they literally just go and meet and chat. And the more he meets other people in the lifestyle, the more he recognizes that actually it's an extension of us. It's not doing something wrong. It's like bringing toys into the bedroom or watching porn or whatever. Yeah. It's just an extension.
Well, it goes back to like, there's all these, I mean, like I said, me and Charlie have been together 15 years. We've been engaged for 10. I was the one that proposed, even though he was about to propose, but I didn't realise it. And it was a leap year and blah, blah, blah. But I'm rebellious. Yeah. And I wanted to propose because it wasn't the normal thing. It was a leap year. I was like, yeah, we're going to do that. But then, like, I'm not that bothered about getting married, even though we are now getting married next year. But anyway. But because it's like, it's the unwritten rule. That's what you're meant to do. Mm-hmm. It's what's expected.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but let's just think like realistically. we've been together for 15 years. We've got the children, we've got the house, we've got the lifestyle. To me, it's just a bit of paper.
Mm-hmm.
So that's me thinking like the logical side, like thinking away from what society tells you. And this is the same in that society tells you you're meant to be a woman with a man, you're meant to have children, have a house, you're meant to do it in the order as well. There's an order that comes with this. It's all like the old-fashioned, I think, is where it's going now, because everything's so much more free and the way the world needs to be. And it's all heading in the right direction. Even like men marrying men, women marrying women, all the lovely, everything that is happening around that all being okay now. And it's just, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it is breaking that mindset of you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And actually, well, if I'm happy with it and you're happy with it, then why not?
That's the thing, right? And there will be people that judge us, and that's okay. Judge all you like. But if you're going to be unsupportive and not very nice about it, see you later. You don't have to understand it. But as long as you're supporting us, then that, and you're like, well, we're grown adults. And it's, it's one of the, people seem to think that the swinging lifestyle is everybody shags everyone. But actually, I'm probably even fussier than I thought I was. Because if I'm getting chatted up by a woman and then I see her husband and I don't like what he looks like, but I don't want to be with a man, there's absolutely nothing about me that wants to be with another man at all. So if she's with a man that I don't like, even in the chat conversations, I'll shut it down. I'm like, no, she's not for me.
Because of the man.
Because of the man, yeah. Like, because I associate her with him. And if he tries to get involved in the conversation, I'm like, not interested.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I don't want a bar of another man. I wouldn't mind another man, say if I hooked up with a woman whose husband was there, I wouldn't mind him being in the room, but I don't want him coming anywhere near me.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that. And there's a lot of women who there's a lot of men and women who can just see it as just sex and having fun, and they'll literally walk up to someone and go, right, let's go, let's have some fun. But I do still need that connection with someone. I need to like them as a human being to find them attractive. This foursome that we had, there was one girl that I wasn't really that attracted to, and I could have quite happily not had her not there. Yeah, but it was like my first time, and I'm like, how? Because the others were all getting amongst it, and I'm like, I don't know how to navigate this. But actually, I've talked to quite a lot of people, and they're like, it's okay to say to someone in the group, I'm sorry, but you're not my type. Like, you do what you want to do with these and I'll do what I want to do with them, but you're not for me, kind of thing, in a polite way. And that's okay. Like, that's a boundary that you're allowed to set. And the consent as well. Like, I've had a couple of people, men, push the boundaries and not ask. So I was kissing this one girl and he grabbed hold of her hand and put it on my boob, and she told him off. But that was like, that put me right off. I'm like, no, we were all in the hot tub. I'm like,
respect boundaries, and
I'm done. But consent is like the biggest word throughout the lifestyle. And even to give someone a hug or a kiss, you always ask first, and being very safe, always using protection and getting regular tech checks and all that sort of stuff. So it's not really the life that I thought it was going to be. Load of sleaze bags all shagging each other. It's not like that at all.
No, because I imagine that's probably how it started.
Probably.
And then, it's just that people have been, as it's become more of a thing and more talked about, it's etiquette, I suppose.
Yeah.
Would that be the right word?
Oh, there's definitely etiquette. There's definitely rules, and things that you will get called out very quickly if you are not following those rules, and if you're being disrespectful in any way, shape or form, you will be outed. Like, you'll get banned from the clubs, you'll get banned from the group chats and all those kinds of things.
So from the clubs, tell me about this. So by club, do you mean like a physical place that people go to?
Yeah. So the first one we went to, it was
I'm
wild.
mind blown. Right.
So you go dressed in whatever you want. And then they have the dress down, which you don't have to. So you basically strip down to your underwear, and there are people walking around naked, or whatever you want to walk around in, you can.
Sorry. So, like, excuse my naivety again. This is just like a random place nearby.
No, so there are specific like clubs that are for swingers.
For that, not just that like it's lifestyle. A place and they have a night of this. Or...
Yeah, there's specific like they've got dungeons and saunas and jacuzzis and like big orgy beds and couples rooms and all that kind of thing. And the first one we went to, one of the reasons that Adam now feels so secure about me being in the lifestyle is he could see how terrified and anxious I was, and that I didn't want to just go and shag everybody. I literally clang on to him for dear life for most of it. And we chatted to his couple, and she was okay, but she wasn't really my type. So we went and sort of had a wander around, and we went and got in the jacuzzi. And as soon as we walked in, it was very confronting because I wasn't expecting it. There was a lad sat on the side and a girl giving him a blowjob, and there was about 20 people in this jacuzzi. And I was like, okay, this is a bit weird. And we sat in the hot tub, then this girl came over with her bloke that kind of ruined everything. And then so me and Adam left that area, and then we went into this big room where there was loads of beds. There was about 4 or 5 people having sex on one bed, and then a group over there, and then a couple over there. And we ended up playing by ourselves in very close proximity of other people having sex. And just listening to other people and seeing them out the corner of my eye, like, I didn't realize I'd be so turned on by it. And it was like, yeah, it was such a turn on.
So that's like obviously the introduction. You're sort of doing it bit by bit in the,
yeah.
God, I would feel so insecure.
I thought I would, but
Yeah.
because everybody else is doing it, and everybody is all shapes and sizes and ages. There's young people that obviously all over 18 or 21 it might be. And then there's people that are like 70-ish. And all shapes and sizes, and everybody is accepted, and it's quite acceptable just to stand and watch. Like, that's a thing. Apparently it's quite normal for people just to stand at the door and watch, and then perhaps they'll go home or go into one of the private rooms or whatever. So yeah, I thought I'd be self-conscious, but because there are so many people walking around naked or in underwear.
I can imagine it's really freeing, actually.
It's so freeing. Like, once I got over the initial nerves of the first time, like, I've got no inhibitions anymore in that setting. It's
and
really
this is
empowering.
since just August.
This is just since August, yeah.
Gosh.
He's been out more times than I have now, but mostly because I've been on comp prep. We were supposed to go out the weekend before we flew out, but I had a really bad virus, and I was like, I can't go and spread this virus to other people. So yeah, it's wild, but it's really fun.
It's like something you see in the movies.
It is like something you see in the movies.
The pictures in my head from the way you're telling it, it's just like, I swear I've watched this on Netflix.
Probably have, to be fair.
Interesting. Well, I did not expect to be having this conversation today.
I'm a dark horse, but also an open book at the same time.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's so important to me to just stop, like we were talking about earlier, like, I'm 47 now and I'm so over hiding who I am.
Yeah.
And there are hundreds of thousands of people that live this lifestyle that don't feel the need to hide behind closed doors. So why should I? Like, if you don't like it, that's okay. You have your own opinions. But if you're not going to not like me as a human being, jog on. Like, don't care.
But it comes to any aspect. I mean, the most recent conversation I've had about I wish people would talk more and be more open is about finance and money.
Yeah.
Because that's the world that I'm in and the people I'm surrounded by. And it comes down to the same things like this. If people just spoke more and were more open, doesn't the world just become bigger and
Massively.
so much more acceptable to... And you don't get quite so paranoid about what other people might think, because actually everyone's doing this, or everyone's in this position, or not necessarily in this position, but so much more. I'm sitting here thinking, I've never had this conversation with anyone in my life. I don't know anyone like this.
I bet you
Clearly
do.
I do.
I bet you, but other than me, I bet you do know people that...
but no one talks about it.
Yeah. And do you know what? That's another reason why I now am very vocal about, you know, not just this lifestyle, but about going through the amount of trauma and everything and all the bad choices that I made. Because I don't want people to, when you've been through that sort of stuff, or when you're going through that sort of stuff, it can feel so lonely and so isolating. And I know when I did my counselling training and we all shared our backgrounds, our histories, the power of the group telling us what they've been through, you're like, shit, I'm not alone. I thought that happened to me. Like, I feel like that. So if I can even help one person go, oh my God, I'm not completely crazy. I'm not some insane anomaly that thinks and feels these things, because I can guarantee you something that you say or do will resonate with someone that goes, I'm so glad you shared that.
Yeah.
And I just wish I had more of that. I now try to be the adult and the person that I've always needed in my life for other people. And if that means me putting this out there and sharing my story with other people and, you know, possibly facing backlash and judgment, well, I'm okay with that, because I know it's going to help more people.
Yeah.
Even, it doesn't mean that you're going to go and jump into the lifestyle, but like you say, it just opens up your mind
It
a little
does.
bit.
And it's fascinating because I love knowing what I don't know. But you don't even know what you don't know to find it out.
I didn't even know it until I went and tried it.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. So your podcast with your husband, do you talk about stuff like this and it's all...
Yeah, so we've done 2, we've released 2 so far. So the first one, we literally scatterbombed everything. We just put it all out there, everything that had happened, what we've been through. The next episode is about talking about, because he's also my coach for weightlifting. So
wow, is it?
Yeah, so he does my programming and he's my accountability coach. So we talk about how that was for him and how that was for me and the dynamic and stuff. And then the third one that's out, one of the questions that was asked by one of his friends when they heard the first podcast was, should I really have told him at that time, even though we made this promise to each other to always be honest, was that really a good time to do it? When it was, because we knew each other well enough. And yes, we've got a few more coming out. We're not going to focus so much on the lifestyle, but more about how we navigate it, the communication. And I talk a lot about the tools that I've learned as a therapist and a counsellor and how that can help other people if perhaps you're struggling to communicate and just get on the same page and all those kind of things. So it's sharing our story with some, here's how to navigate, or here's some potential advice that people could
things
take
that have
forward.
helped you that you
definitely.
could potentially help others with. Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that YouTube, Spotify, Apple?
At the moment it's on Spotify, so it's called Strength and Connection. And what we've put a couple of episodes on Spotify, which we'll leave for a little bit, and then we'll post them onto YouTube as well.
Yeah.
But we want them to go onto Spotify first. I don't really know why we've made that decision. Maybe it looks more professional. I'm not sure, but they will go onto YouTube because not everybody has Spotify. So yeah.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
I will send you the link.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I want to have more of this conversation. Absolutely. Before you go though, tell me about your apparel.
Oh yeah, so Rainbow Barbell. So I can't really remember at what point I decided to to start a gym clothing range. It's not just gym clothing. There's a few other things. So being in the lifestyle as well, like the upside down pineapple is a thing. And when you're going from your car to into the club and you need your flip-flops or whatever on to go in and out the jacuzzi, I was like, I want to make some cute ones with pineapples on. And then being now in the LGBT community, I was like, there's not really a lot of clothing that really celebrates that and that's really out there. So I wanted to, and being a muscular athletic woman, there's not really a lot that goes, this is me and I'm really proud of who I am. So I just started playing around with some designs, stuck them on a few T-shirts, and I've worn them to America and stuff. And everyone's like, "Oh, where'd you get your T-shirt from? That looks really cool." So I've now started a range. So it's rainbowbarbell.com and it's on Shopify. And I will make a proper launch at some point. But if you are listening to this, go over and have a look. And all the profits that I make from that go into a pot for me to be able to afford to compete around the world, basically.
Yeah, love that. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been awesome.
What an interesting conversation.
It's been great. We'll come back for part 2.
Definitely.
Put you in the hot seat. I'm busting for a pee.
My life won't be half as interesting, I can tell you that.